Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Brady Joker here, and welcome to the big one. Today, we are going to take a look and rank all 26 Martin Scorsese movies ever made. Martin Scorsese is hands down now one of my favorite filmmakers ever. You've probably never heard of the guy, but and again, very hot take here to say this, but Martin Scorsese is certainly one of my favorite filmmakers working today. He's just so good at what he does. He's able to take some of the coldest stories ever told and bring so much humanity and emotion to them. He's just so good, and him and Paul Thomas Anderson are basically tied for my third favorite director of all time. And you know, I just can't pick which one is better. I can't do it. You can't make me. Now, before we get into the list, please remember that this is my personal opinion. And you know what? If your Scorsese list is different from mine, good. That is awesome. You have your own opinion. Maybe that just demonstrates how amazing Scorsese is as a filmmaker, that he can reach such a wide audience with so many different tales and stuff. So maybe it's not a bad thing if we have, not agreeing lists. Just know that my list is still the right one though. So yeah, we got a lot of these to get through, so I say let's just start with the ranking. So Boxcar Bertha was Scorsese's second film that he ever made, and yeah, this movie is not good. It is very boring, super bland, super uninteresting, with super surface level characters and very just writing all around the board. I guess you could say that Scorsese you could definitely see he's starting to experiment with some, more intricate and more complex cinematography. A couple of these shots are pretty good, but all around, for the most part, I was literally so unengaged in this movie. Me and my mom talked through probably 85% of this movie. Also, want to say real quick before we get any further, Mom, thank you so much for watching all these Martin Scorsese movies with me. You've made my last few weeks here so wonderful. And Dad, also, thank you for, watching a lot of movies that you wouldn't want to watch with us as well. It means the world to me that you guys are watching all these movies with me, especially you, Dad, just because you don't watch movies with us that much. But I love that you're watching them with us. And Mom, of course, thank you. So yeah, sorry, just wanted to say that because I'm moving out in a couple of days. Who's That Knocking on My Door is Martin Scorsese's directorial debut, and it is not good either. There are so many weird moments in this movie of just random montages that have so little to do with the movie. It's like, how YouTubers have to put fluff in their videos to try to hit that 10-minute mark so that they can start making money of it? I felt like that's what Martin Scorsese was doing when he was trying to hit that hour-and-a-half mark, because man, this thing drags in certain scenes. Alright, so Gangs of New York, this might be the first kind of controversial opinion on this list, but man, I did not like this movie either. I thought Leo was incredibly boring in this movie. Like, his performance was so dull, which really shocked me for him. Cameron Diaz is also just pretty bad in this movie, and her character is also so annoying. She just takes up screen time when I just wanted Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis as the Butcher is genuinely the only memorable thing about this movie, in my opinion, and he carries the movie on his back. I think a lot of the action scenes are just super cheesy and corny, and in a bad way, which is kind of weird for Scorsese, in my opinion. And all around, this thing was way too long. It was way longer than it needed to be. This thing could have been a quick 2 hours. Hour 45 max, honestly. It didn't look that great either. I just did not have a great time with this movie, unfortunately. Alrighty, so Kundun was the one movie that I really was not interested in watching at all. And that's just because it looked boring. And I was kinda right. I actually think the second half of this movie dips in quality quite a bit. I actually did kind of like the first half of the movie when he was a kid. I found it really endearing and heartwarming as this kid starts to try and navigate through, you know, being Kundun and being like the head of all these people. I found it interesting how a kid had to handle all that. Kind of reminded me of Tale of the Princess Kaguya. But then the second half really just feels like a certified history lesson, and it failed to keep me engaged for most of the runtime. Okay, so The Age of Innocence is probably one of my biggest disappointments. I was hoping to at least like it, and we're starting to get to the more mid movies now. Like, I think this movie is just mid. I think Daniel Day-Lewis, like Gangs of New York, really does do a lot of the heavy lifting in this movie, because I think Winona Ryder is severely underused and just not that great in this. I also found it to be pretty boring, too. And while, yeah, I did just say Daniel Day-Lewis does a good job here, I do think his character is very one-noted, and he's, you know, pretty surface level when it comes to this kind of character. And I don't know, I mean, the costume design is good, but honestly, there's not much to say about this. It's just a standard little love triangle film. It's very predictable. I like moments in it, which is why I think it's mid. Like, there's some good scenes in here. There's a lot of great moments. And again, Daniel Day-Lewis, but alrighty. Aviator was another one that I was pretty worried going into it, because again, I thought it was going to be really boring because I have literally zero interest in planes. And again, unfortunately, I was kind of right. There were a couple dragged out sequences that I didn't feel like needed to be in there. I will say, I think this is a pretty underrated Leo performance. I think he's actually really solid in this one. He portrays a lot of the great like OCD tendencies. I think he does it really well. Again, it's too long. 3 hours. What? But again, yeah, I mean, there's some great sequences here. I really like Cate Blanchett in this. She's really good. Do think she's a bit underused, unfortunately. Because like she kind of like disappears halfway through the movie, and unfortunately I think the second half of the movie is weaker than the first half, because I really enjoyed him being like a producer and all that. That was really interesting to me. But at the end of the day, it's another kind of Leo goes crazy movie. Alrighty, The Color of Money was a movie I was really interested in going into it. I had never seen The Hustler, which I need to check out now that I've seen this. It's a good movie. It's good. It's a lot of fun. Ending kind of ruins it. I also think Tom Cruise is, again, very one-noted. He kind of just acts the exact same through the entire thing. I think he's so much better in Rain Man, where he kind of has that similar, like, arrogant, douchey role. But at least in Rain Man, he starts to develop a character arc, which he kind of doesn't do in this movie, unfortunately. I think Paul Newman is great, but I mean, it's Paul Newman. He's kind of great in everything, so I mean... And I don't know, this one was just kind of one that I wasn't really connecting to at all. I'm not a pool player. I'm not great at pool, but it's a fun game, but I mean, wasn't that interested in the movie. All right, number 19, Cape Fear. This is a weird one for Scorsese because this is like a certified thriller. Like, this movie's pretty creepy at times, and De Niro is a very horrifying, evil man in this. There's a lot of cartoonish sequences in this movie, unfortunately, though, that really kind of took me out. Like, the whole third act just feels so far-fetched, in my opinion. This is also probably the Scorsese film that I haven't seen in the longest amount of time. So maybe if I rewatched it, it would go higher up, but I kind of doubt it. Alright, now we got one of the biggest surprises on this list. I thought this was going to be like bottom 3 Scorsese, seeing as this was the movie that nearly killed his whole career. But New York, New York was surprisingly a really good movie. I think Liza Minnelli absolutely bodies this role. She is so good in this movie, and I think this is also a really underrated De Niro performance as well. Their chemistry is really solid in this movie. Now, yeah, it's almost 3 hours. Simply didn't need to be that long. But I don't know, I was really invested in their relationship. I mean, the music is great. I mean, I love jazz. So, I mean, the sax was awesome, dude. The whole band, it was cool. And I also really like the third act of this movie when we really shift gears and like the whole movie changes up and we get kind of a Singing in the Rain type moment where like, it's really cool. It's not one of his best, and it's definitely not going to stick with me like a lot of his other ones do. But in the moment, I had a really good time with this movie. Alrighty, number 17, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Now, I think of all the ones that I've placed in like the bottom, like from 15 to the back half, this is the one that had the most potential to be like a top 5 Scorsese. It is literally only Harvey Keitel. His whole side plot tanks this movie so hard. All I wanted was Ellen Burstyn and Chris Christopherson, and then Ellen Burstyn in the diner. If we just skipped straight to that, like we skipped Harvey Keitel's whole side plot, I think this would have been like a fantastic movie. Because all that stuff is really, really good. Chris Christopherson and Ellen Burstyn's relationship, they have such great chemistry. Unfortunately, when things start to get a little rocky in their relationship, it just feels kind of out of nowhere at times because we glaze over things really quick, because you don't know how much time has passed. And again, just knowing off of the show, it's called like Alice, isn't it? Just Alice. I mean, I just wanted her in the diner, but like she's barely in the diner and you don't really get a lot of her coworkers. I just think the whole Harvey Keitel side plot just tanked this movie because I really liked the first act, really liked the third act, second act, not so much. Alrighty, Mean Streets. This was kind of the film that put Scorsese on the map. It brought us the very first De Niro performance in a Scorsese film, which is obviously huge. We got another great Keitel performance here. It's kind of just about these guys living their day-to-day lives, trying to rank up, trying to scathe them by if they owe some people some money, and it's honestly just a ton of fun because Scorsese makes it fun. He has fun with his writing in this one. His writing improved so much between Boxcar Bertha and Mean Streets because you actually care about these characters. You actually feel something if something bad happens to them. You actually, start to be on edge when things start to go wrong, and that's the sign of improvement right there. Now again, it's not my favorite thing in the world. It's still really great, actually. We've actually gone up to the great movies. We're in the great movies, which is saying something seen as we're at number 16. But, this just still feels very surface level Scorsese. Like, he still had so much to do, so I really can't put it much higher than this. "15, Bringing Out the Dead." This was actually a lot lower because I watched this all the way back in January of this year, and I rewatched it, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed it much more on a rewatch. I actually just found myself to be a lot more engaged this time around. I was actually connecting with a lot of what Nick Cage was going through and what he was saying in a lot of his voiceover monologues. It was really beautiful at times, but also really dark and tragic. This is probably Scorsese at his darkest in terms of the themes and the subject material. I mean, there's a lot of really disturbing moments in this movie that actually had me disturbed. And again, I think Nick Cage is really good in this role. He kills it. And all the side characters here, Ving Rhames, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but he steals the show every time he's on screen. So yeah, while I don't think this is a great entry point to Scorsese, or honestly, it's probably one of his least accessible films, which kind of holds it back for me because I think Scorsese is best when he is appeasing the most amount of people. This is still a great film, and I really had a good time with it. 14, Hugo. This is single-handedly the biggest surprise by far. I thought I was gonna like it, maybe even a little less. But holy crap, dude, this movie is so good. It's great. It's honestly probably Scorsese's most personal film to date. It's just one big love letter to cinema, and I think it's beautiful. The fact that there's a couple true elements, like the Moon short film that is in this movie, is a real short film that was made. You can go watch it. It's on HBO Max. That's awesome to me. And the performances are really good. Asa, Butterfield, and then Chloe Grace Moretz is really good, and their chemistry as this so raw and powerful. I mean, their friendship is so believable and so heartwarming. And Ben Kingsley, man, he gives honestly one of my favorite Ben Kingsley performances I've seen in this. He is so vulnerable in this film, and it's beautiful. Now again, it's not the most complex Scorsese film. It's not his most layered. I mean, it is a kid's movie at the end of the day. But it is a kid's movie at its finest, in my opinion. This is a beautiful film that I highly recommend if anyone has been putting this one off in their Scorsese binge. Watch Hugo. You won't regret it. Alrighty, Casino. Some people might be mad at me for excluding this in the top 10, but unfortunately, I just think Casino is bogged down by the fact that there are just a bunch of similar Scorsese movies that just outdo it in a number of different ways. Well, yeah, I actually really like this De Niro performance. Again, it's kind of just feels like a De Niro performance. Same thing with Joe Pesci. I also really hate Sharon Stone in this movie. Like, she's good, but like, oh my god, her character is one of the most insufferable people I've ever watched on screen. I don't have much to say about Casino. It's really good. There's a lot of twists and turns, and I really like the dynamic between De Niro and Pesci in this. But again, at the end of the day, just go watch Goodfellas. Alrighty, The Irishman. Now, if you asked me when I first watched this movie, this would have been way lower down. As I've sat with it, yeah, I'm kind of starting to realize how great this movie is. It's a 3.5-hour epic film having incredible late time performances from the big three in my eyes. You got De Niro, Pesci, and Pacino giving it their absolute all. In fact, this might be a top 3 Pacino performance in my opinion. He is so good in this movie. I will say, movie's long. You really do feel that runtime, especially in the first 2 hours, but it is because the movie is building up to one thing, to that last act, and because of all that buildup, it is one of the most intense third acts, one of the biggest shocker moments I have ever seen in my entire life, that it hits you and it hurts your soul. There's a moment in this that is probably a top 3 moment in any Scorsese movie ever. Just because of how powerful it is, because of what Scorsese was doing building up to this moment, the entire film. So well, yeah, when I first watched the movie, the purpose and the voice of this movie kind of felt lost to me. However, the more I sit with it, the more I'm understanding how great this movie really is. Alright, Shutter Island, directed by Christopher Nolan. This is famously Scorsese's kind of #1 regret. He does not like this movie. And you know, it kind of makes sense. Nah, it's great. Shutter Island is great. It's got a phenomenal third act. But on rewatch here, I was kind of just sitting there, like, okay, come on, let's get to it. Especially with the foreshadowing. I don't know how I didn't predict the third act of this movie, because there is an overwhelming amount of foreshadowing. Like, dude, you can go 5 seconds without it being like, hey, this is what's happening in the movie. And I'm like, and I was just sitting there watching it for the first time, like, I don't know. I think Leo is pretty good in this. It's not one of my favorites. I think Mark Ruffalo is also really good. And again, Ben Kingsley is also just great because it's Ben Kingsley. Visually, it doesn't do much for me. I think this is one of Scorsese's most bland looking films. I think some of the effects and green screens really stick out sometimes. Some people love this movie and claim it to be one of Scorsese's best, but personally, it's just not up there. Okay, this is the one that I think is gonna get me the most shit. I know, Taxi Driver at 10, barely making the top 10. I know, this is a lot of people's favorite. It's the one that really made Scorsese famous. And I think it's amazing. We've reached the 4.5 out of 5 movies. We're in that like peak phase. But this is his lowest peak in my opinion. And it's simply because I just think he has so much growing to do. Well, yeah, this is a very complex look into a man. Unfortunately, I don't think it's as layered as some people think it is. I don't know, at the end of the day, it's just about, a guy, he's, unwell, and he starts to go crazy. I don't know, I just think people think it's a lot more deep than it kinda is. Now again, don't get me wrong, this movie is amazing. Its soundtrack, oh my god. I mean, it's beautiful, it's beautiful. And of course that third act is really good. It's incredible, it's amazing. But I just think he has better and more to offer later in his career when he gets a little bit more talent. Like his next big hit, Raging Bull. Now I actually had Taxi Driver above Raging Bull, but then I rewatched Raging Bull and I was like, nope, this is better than Taxi Driver. Every single scene in the ring is so tense, the way the camera focuses on the people. It is so good. You feel like you're in the ring with them. Jake LaMotta is such a horrible person and De Niro plays him so well, and Scorsese directs the hell out of this movie to where you don't feel bad for this dude in one scene. You hate this guy, you despise him, and that is great direction and that's great writing right there. I also think Kathy Moriarty, I don't know, is really, really good in this movie. She steals the scene when she's in them. At the end of the day, this is just a fantastic look at the emotion of rage and how, you know, when you have that outlet of rage that you have, and, you know, for Jake LaMotta, it was, you know, boxing. When that starts to bleed more and more into your personal life, things get messy. And it's just such an intense watch, and I love it. Silence. Oh man, Silence. This is probably Scorsese's most difficult film to get through. And you might be like, what, how? It's just about these two priests going on a religious journey to try and save, you know, their mentor. And, wow, the places this movie goes. It is so dark, it is so sad at times, and yet like God's presence is there throughout the entire film. You just know he's there, and yet Andrew Garfield, who, by the way, probably easily Andrew Garfield's best performance, is having so much struggle getting through this journey. He is going through hell, and yet the last act of this movie is so powerful in so many ways. This is also a really slow movie. This is one of those movies where I actually think the slow pace really helps it, because there is no way this movie would have been as good if it just rushed through all these things. It needed to take its time. It needed us to enter this world, because the world building is so good in this movie. You are constantly in fear of what is around the corner, what is coming. And again, it's so beautiful, the final act. It is so good. I love this movie a lot. And yet I like The Last Temptation of Christ just a little bit more. Willem Dafoe as Jesus? Absolutely, man. I will take that every day. I think Willem Dafoe is phenomenal in this movie. It is one of my favorite Willem Dafoe performances. And like I said in my What I Watched in July video, they're able to take the most famous man's story to ever exist. They can take it and stay faithful to it while adding original ideas and new concepts to it. And I love it. So while, yeah, this was Scorsese's most controversial movie, I don't get what's so controversial about it. I mean, I guess the third act, it goes in some places. I'll just leave it at that. But man, for me, that final moments, it just adds to how powerful God's presence is. How it adds so much to the overall purposes and themes of the movie. They make Jesus so human, and he has his own moral, you know, struggles in this film, and you see him work through those until that final act happens. It's incredible, and I love it. Wolf of Wall Street. What is there to say about this movie that hasn't already been said? Peyton, I'm sorry this isn't making top 5. I'm sorry. It is so much fun. This is probably Scorsese at his most loose. He is just breaking out. He's having a great time on set. You can tell everyone involved in this movie really gave it their all, especially DiCaprio. Holy crap, this is easily my favorite Leo performance. But at the end of the day, I think the top 5 just has more to say. This is a spectacle of filmmaking. It's so huge and epically scaled. To where, unfortunately, I do think the pacing is a little bit slow at times. Like, I paused it and I was only an hour and a half into this 3-hour movie, and I was like, what? I thought I was like rearing the end, and I was like only an hour and a half in. I was only halfway, and I was like, what? I was like, how do I still have half of the movie left? I feel like I've seen so much already. So much happens in that 3-hour runtime that sometimes it can feel like the movie is a little bit slow. But yeah, just everyone's given it their all here, and I truly have such a blast with this movie. It is one of my favorites. The Departed is probably Scorsese's most intense watch. While I do think Silence is harder to get through just because of its slow pace and its, intensity as well, this movie is the one that has me on the edge of my seat, constantly biting my nails, constantly waiting for the next thing to happen, and waiting for that inevitable ending, which I knew was coming on this rewatch, and yet I was still waiting, how do we end up there? Because I couldn't remember anything else about the movie. Also, another really underrated Leo performance in this. He's really good in this. Jack Nicholson obviously is amazing. He's amazing in everything. And Matt Damon is, of course, really good in this as well. So while yes, this movie is fantastic, and while yeah, it's so cold, I do think there is a humanistic aspect of this movie that I think my top 4 has, that this movie just lacks. And that's at the end of the day why it's not any higher. It's just because it lacks a bit of heart that I personally need in my movies. Yeah, I know I did just talk about heart and humanity, and yet this is one of the most bizarre, insane films. Somehow, I connect and resonate more with this movie than The Departed. I don't know if it's just because I have an absolute blast watching this movie, or maybe it's just because of its overarching themes of feeling lost, feeling like you're running in circles, feeling like a bunch of bad things are just happening to you over and over again and you aren't getting a break. So yeah, maybe that's why I love the movie. Because it takes all those really interesting and pretty complex themes, and it makes it into one of the most silly, most hilarious, pretty disturbing, most just surreal experiences put to film. This is probably my favorite use of New York, because New York, if you've seen every Scorsese movie, is an actual character in Scorsese's movies. Like, this dude is always filming in New York. And this is probably my favorite New York appearance in a Scorsese film. It feels like its own character in this movie. Like I said, the movie is hilarious, it's insane, it feels like a fever dream that you just can't escape from, and I absolutely love it. Killers of the Flower Moon was always making the top 3, and then I rewatched it, and it absolutely still makes the top 3. When I saw this in theaters, my mind was blown, and then when I rewatched it, my mind was still blown. Well, yeah, for the first kind of hour of this movie, I was kind of in and out of it. I was kind of editing my Temple video, finishing it up, and then I got sucked right back into the movie for the last 2.5 hours. Flew by. Absolutely love it. Leo is incredible in this movie. Of course, Lily Gladstone is amazing. De Niro also gives an incredible performance. I think this is also a really personal, a very important film in Scorsese's filmography, maybe his most important. It tells this deeply, deeply tragic and heartbreaking story, and it does it justice so well. The Osage people went through literal hell, and yet Scorsese is able to just capture it so beautifully. I don't know, this movie just did things to me. It has so much emotion and heart, and it captures the evil of humanity so well as well. It's just this balancing act between, evil and good, and I love it. Yep, the king of comedy. Wasn't this high, but then I rewatched it and I was like, yep, this is just one of his best. Another just absolutely sad movie that disguises itself as a comedy, and that is my favorite element of it. The movie is tragic, giving you this man's life, how awkward he is, how he's just unwell, he's delusional, he doesn't understand the world around him, and yet it frames it as a comedy, poking fun at it, but yet you can feel the underlying themes of how dark this story really is. Because I think everybody can see themselves in Rupert Pupkin a little bit, how we have those, ideas, those fantasies of wanting to be the next superstar, wanting to be, super famous. But the level of his is just out of this world, and it's just so sad to watch him go down that rabbit hole, even though he is really harmless. But this is still a threat. It's still scary. You know, it's scary. And like I said, with it being disguised as a comedy, it's still super funny. I just can't say enough great things about this movie. I genuinely think it's perfect. But not as perfect as Goodfellas. Goodfellas, call it the basic pick, I don't care. You know, I've picked the basic pick in my Nolan, in my Fincher, in my Wes Anderson. I don't care. Goodfellas is literally just everything Scorsese has ever been good at, all wrapped into one movie at its best. The violence, the humanity, the comedy, the intensity, the emotion, it's all freaking there. It's so good. The performances, man. Ray Liotta, De Niro, and Pacino are all at their best. I think this is a really, really great De Niro performance that I really underlooked the first time I watched it, but rewatching it, he adds so much to this movie. You're constantly waiting for something to happen. You're constantly on edge in this movie throughout the entire 2.5 runtime. And this movie flies by. You don't feel that 2.5 hours because you are just so invested in this story, because it really just is peak storytelling, in my opinion. You can't get much better than this movie, in my opinion. I think it's a masterpiece, and it is easily Scorsese's best movie. Alrighty, Scorsese ranked. This was the big one that I wanted to get on before I moved out, and I succeeded. So, yeah, if you want to watch some more directors rank, click that playlist. And go watch my Temple video because I worked really hard on it. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, evening, or night, or whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!